Hello and welcome to FinTech Impact. I'm your host, Jason Pereira. Today on the show, I have Sam Kendree, president and co-founder of Wealthfeed. Wealthfeed is a big data platform that brings the power of big data to advisors to help them better find new business, retain clients, and save time in identifying target clients. And with that, here's my interview with Sam. Thanks for taking the time today.
Of course, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Sam Kendree of Wealthfeed. Tell us about Wealthfeed.
Yeah, good deal. Wealthfeed is a business development platform that helps advisors with every part of the spectrum of organic growth. So you can think of finding new prospects, converting current prospects at a higher rate, and then retaining more clients and winning more wallet share when the opportunity rises.
Okay, we'll dive into how in a moment, but tell me about the origin of the company.
So we got started about 4 years ago, and we spun out of an RIA here in Chicago called Chicago Partners Wealth Advisors. We're a mid-sized RIA, manage about 6.5 billion, depending on the market, obviously. And I led all of our West Coast acquisitions that we did. So we would acquire kind of small mom and pop shops, 100 to 250 million of and every time we got to the table to talk about what the deal looked like and the integration, the question always arises of how we're going to help them grow their book of business. And for both of our deals to pencil, they had to grow organically, regardless of market returns. We realized, hey, organic growth is important for every single advisor out there. The second thing that we realized is every single new client that we got in Chicago, Hawaii, Spokane, always stemmed from some sort of money motion event. So someone selling a business, inheriting money, just moving to the state. It was never a random call that we got. So we married the two of those together, iterated on the product quite a bit, and that's where we're at today.
One of the most telling questions I ask clients or prospects when they come in is, why now? Like, what is it? No one wakes up and says, I need a financial planner, right? They have a life event that basically causes that, right? Money in motion is definitely something. And a pile of money landing on your lap is going to be something persistent that basically just overwhelms and says, okay, I really need to do something here. And unless, of course, you have the hubris to think you can do it all yourself, which knock yourself out and see how the chips will land. But seeking out professional help in a time of need is exactly what most people should do. All right. So let's talk about how you tackle it. I described you as a big data platform, which is effectively what you are. So talk to me about what it is that you are delivering in terms of an experience for advisors.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step of our platform is that identification process of saying who has some sort of money in motion in an advisor's local area. And from a local area, Jason, that could be a zip code, a city, a county, a map view, so much like a Zillow. So zooming up on a neighborhood or around the advisor's local branch and using big data and public data sources to identify everything from inheritances to business sales to capital raise to new movers, folks who are retiring, and then really allowing the advisor to put that through a high converting, compliant marketing engine that's completely automated on our end. So that's I'd say the main functionality of the Wealthfeed platform.
Excellent. So effectively what you're doing is what the likes of Google and Facebook have been doing with ads for years, right? Like they basically compile a ton of data on users and people around the country, whatever else it is. And then they basically package that up into something that tells you, hey, you can target based on these demographics and factors and better market to hopefully what is your target audience.
Yeah. And along with that, we're able to pull in job history, able to pull in everything you can think of from LinkedIn, right? So alma mater, all that good data. The end product is allowing advisors to say, all right, people who went to my alma mater, went to Gonzaga University, who just moved to Chicago in between ages 30 and 40, they have 1 million and up of investable assets. When I was in Chicago, I said, hey, that's my perfect target market. If I can get in front of them, we can talk shop about basketball. One thing leads to another, talk about finances. When I was here in Chicago doing that, there was just no platform to identify that. And that's what sparked the idea for Wealthfeed. And it's been a 4 year ride to get to where we're at. Along the way, it's been a lot of great customer feedback and really tailoring it directly to an advisor and the needs and wants that they have.
Your platform works in your country, but not so much in others. The amount of data that is accessible on individuals within the US is just staggering. It's mind-blowing. You're taking a bunch of publicly available information, some other stuff that you're getting elsewhere, whatever, might also be above board, no issues here,
Right.
compiling client profiles around these individuals and specifically looking for the things that you know are of two things, I would say. One, of relevance to the individual in terms of understanding their network and whoever else. And then two, like you said, or of course, their qualification of like how net worth, everything else, right? Are they going to make an ideal client? But then really layering on the rubber hits the road, the trigger events, the what basically is causing that money in motion. So what money in motion events are you able to capture?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 11 right now that we're able to capture. And again, these are all through public data sources, like you mentioned, Jason, all above board. So starting from top to bottom, inheritances are a big one. We've been able to create a unique custom data pipeline that maps out this entire wealth transfer that we're going through right now and helping advisors identify that from a net new prospect standpoint, but also identifying that within their current book of business and their current prospect list, which is very valuable. So you got the inheritances, we pick up divorces through law dockets. There's a big subset of financial advisors who focus on divorcees. I think the stat is 98% of them hire a new financial advisor for obvious reasons. So those two, then we get into the business sale, the capital raise, insider stock sale. So those are more SEC form derived. And then moving on to new movers. So being able to pick up if someone changes their address from Cincinnati, Ohio to Chicago, Illinois, and then new parent and recently married, which are both derived from spending habits. We plug into some credit bureaus for those. And then all LinkedIn data. So folks who are getting promoted, changing jobs, getting laid off. And then lastly would be retirement age. So folks who are hitting that 59 and a half, able to draw from those retirement accounts that they have and game planning that for the advisor. So those are the 11 that we're able to pick up.
Which is a lot. And what you're doing is you're marrying just not target demographic information. Where's the trigger? Where's the point where this well-placed phone call or email is going to arrive just in time, right around the time that something important happened that would need for what you're doing?
Exactly right. Yeah. And the way that we teach our advisors who utilize our platform is always leading with advice, right? So leading with saying, hey, maybe someone just inherited money and we're going to talk about asset allocation for portfolios, or someone got a new job and I'm going to focus on 401k rollovers. So when our advisors are putting these folks into the automated compliant marketing engine that we build out for them, again, they're not saying, hey, Jason, I heard you inherited money. I'm here to help you. It's saying, hey, Jason, my firm focuses on investment management, financial planning, and tax efficient strategies. Is that something that you'd be interested in? And like you said, a lot of those folks, there's an immediate need for those services because of those life events. So we're seeing a lot of success with it, which is great.
Excellent. So let's address the elephant in the room. Okay. It's the how do you do this without appearing creepy to the actual prospect? This is going to come down to the advisor, right? At the end of the day, they can be, hey, you just came into some money, let's talk. Which, if you're doing that, I don't know what to say to you. What guidance do you give? You said you talked about leading with advice. What other things are you telling them to avoid, or what things are you trying to basically say, okay, this is the best practices we see from the people who are really moving the needle in their practice?
Yeah, for sure. So it's funny because when we initially started this, two of our co-founders were at JP Morgan, and what they were doing as analysts were going on Zillow, and their managing director in their office told them to find every single home that sells in their area over $5 million, find out who bought that house, and then try to figure out their information so they can create an intro email and all that. So what we've been able to do is automate all that for the advisors. So a lot of these advisors are already trying to piecemeal all this data together. Let's really speed up that process. And from an outreach perspective, we always tell them to not lead with the event, but again, leading with the services and the offering that they provide and letting the customer kind of put two and two together.
We're used to this, right? Like in fairness, we're used to being marketed closer and closer to the time of need by big data platforms, right? Like the second I turned 45, suddenly a well-known RIA started hammering my LinkedIn feed with how to invest for retirement when you have this much money and cartoon images of white-haired men. Little do they know I have no hair anymore, but specifically targeting me around a need. So I think we gotten used to it, quite honestly. I think it's just all about how you just don't seem creepy about it.
For sure. And it's funny too, because just about every single industry does this, like you mentioned, except for the single financial advisor. And
Yep.
even larger financial institutions are doing it at JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley at their higher level marketing departments. But trickling down to the single advisor, whether that be a broker dealer advisor or smaller RIA, they just haven't never had the ability to have that success on that targeted marketing. So that's what we're bringing to them is a platform that's completely designed and tailored by financial advisors for the specific use case that we have. And it's something that I think advisors are really liking and they get it. Because if you ask them to, Jason, say, hey, where do you get your last 5 clients? They'll say, oh, one sold a business, one just moved here, one got a divorce, and one got married. So they're consulting assets. So it really clicks in their head where they say, oh, it makes sense for the advisor when you get in front of them. But yeah, that's a big part of our job is the education, giving best practices. Hey guys, this works, this doesn't work. Because at the end of the day, if our advisors don't see ROI on our platform, we're not going to be in service in the next couple of years. So that's how we go about our day is everything for us depends on our advisor's success. And if that happens, which it is, things will work out for us as a company. But that's just how we set our priorities internally.
Yep. So one of the things that we talked about when I first met with you, I thought I'd seen data platforms and there's the competition in the space, but what I thought about specifically that was truly a value here, and I think you agree that this is where you're seeing a lot of traction with people, is the ability for advisors to really hone in on a micro niche. Let's not call it micro, but it's one thing to say, okay, this person did a stock sale. All right, fine. But hey, I am targeting people within a certain geographic region who work for certain industries who basically maybe went to the alma mater, so there's an in there, who are in a certain age group and basically have this problem, right? They have this problem of, hey, I've got a lot of my compensation is tied up in stock compensation. How I got to manage the tax burden of that. How do I specifically work with that? And if you can catch one of those triggers to help identify, it's less about catching the money at that moment, but it's also simultaneously like each one of these things well, not each one of these things, but some of these things are also demographics in themselves, right?
Right.
So I'm reaffirming that, hey, okay, this person is of that level where they basically have this problem, and I could literally market to them on that specific need.
Yeah, and it's great too because all the advisors too, they know if they have 10 potential clients, right? They can't serve every single one has such a unique financial profile and financial life. They can't service every single one to the highest of their ability. There's going to be some folk who maybe it's not just that great of a fit, but no financial advisor is going to say, you know what, Jason, it was great meeting you. I don't think I can serve you as well as the RIA across the street because this is my niche, this is their niche. That probably makes more sense for you to go that route. So it's great because advisors can go on our platform and really identify people who they know, like you said, that they can help them because they're
Yeah.
familiar with their scenarios, whether that be a stock sale or a move or inheriting money, and then they can provide the utmost value to that end client. So it's really a win-win, and we're seeing that on our side, which is great.
And I think that there's an interesting counter effect to this in that the clients benefit from this because let's just talk about someone who goes through whatever, divorces, someone passes away, stock sale, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? You have that life event. You have that life event, and then suddenly start getting a bunch of marketing from advisors using your tools. I'm sure there are some who screen for nothing but large amount of money. This person came into a large amount of money. Hey, would you like to talk about your investing?
Yeah.
You got a large amount of money versus, hey, I help people with who didn't manage their own finances prior to divorce.
Yeah.
And the world is overwhelming, and this is a new thing for them and speaks their direct language, right?
Yeah.
Like the probability of somebody who has one of these life events, thanks to a tool like yours, being directly marketed by someone who is actually providing value to that specific type of person, that specific type of niche, is now substantially greater because otherwise it was just marketing into the dark and people will find you as opposed to targeted, which is now possible with your platform.
Absolutely. Just believing in the greater good of financial advisors, right? Understanding that they're providing really solid value that is helpful for a lot of people. And one of the stories that one of my partners, Rylan, I think I've heard him tell it at least 1,000 times now, but he goes, if I ask any of my buddies on our friend group who inherit $1 million where they're taking that money to, not one person is going to name a local RIA across the street. They're going to put in Coinbase, buy some Bitcoin, throw it in Robinhood, maybe buy some options or figure it out. So it's really
But
provide.
all of that terrified me.
It's true.
So thanks for telling me that you're going to the casino and blowing on the dice and rolling hard, but knock yourself out.
Yeah, not us for sure. Folks that we know. And it's one of those things too, where I think it's after the second or third generation of inheritances, that people blow their money all the time, right? So having a financial advisor just is, again, we really believe in that it's providing great value to our society. So it makes our job rewarding for us because we know that we're bringing more people to that benefit, right? And allowing advisors to be able to make those lines of communication easier and higher converting, and at the end of the day, just serve more people, which is what our mission is.
Absolutely. Do you have any metrics on what your top performers have done in this space? How much growth have they seen? What do their conversion rates look like? What's possible when you harness the power of your platform?
Yeah, it's great. I think first and foremost, what we always, again, a big part of our job is education, Jason. So when we have folks hop on our platform, it's not, hey, here are the keys of the car. Good luck. It's, hey, here are the keys, and we're going to be in the passenger seat helping you out the whole time. What we often tell our advisors is first and foremost, find that niche, whether, again, it's based off people who went to your alma mater, or maybe it's based off specific job occupations, whether it's doctor. We have someone who works with construction executives, and that specific advisor who works with construction executives has a 10 to 3 to 1 ratio that he's coined for Wealthfeed. So every 10 folks he reaches out to, he sets up 3 meetings.
Very old funnel metric in
It
the
really is a
as
very
well.
old funnel
But
metric.
you know what? If it works, so be it.
It works. And the reason why it works is because it's so targeted. It's not a shotgun approach. It's all right, construction executives in between this age and this age with this asset range. He just knows that if he can get in front of them and we try to provide the tools so we can do that in a compliant way, that he has a very high chance of converting them.
I'll go one further. If he basically designs all his marketing around it, his materials and his messaging around that, like literally like construction finance, like that's probably the worst word for it, but you can figure out something that basically construction financing says something else to them, right? You can figure out some sort of that creates the concept of personal wealth management and construction ownership together and be able to then just direct all your marketing towards that. It may not get them on the first crack, but throw a drip marketing campaign over time and show that you're the guy who knows that space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
powerful.
It's so powerful. And like you said, having that automated is huge too. So just having that working in the background. So that's one example. We had another firm in Rochester that I think closed 6 or 9 million of net new assets, which was compared to their firm size, they're a good sized firm, but it was still substantial.
Compared to your subscription rate, that's a pretty damn high ROI. But
So yeah, we're excited about that. And then earlier today, one of my colleagues at Chicago Partners, they're a user of Wealthfeed, and we just have automated handwritten notes going out to folks in Chicago that again meet a certain asset range, have some sort of money in motion. And gentleman came up to me this morning and said, "Hey, just a heads up, we have a $2 million prospect coming in tomorrow that we've known within our neighborhood and our little ecosystem on the North Shore of Chicago." The handwritten note got him to come in and set up a portfolio review. We've seen quite a few folks have a lot of success, and I think it comes from, like you said, just the automation and the targeting.
because I would be doomed on that one.
Yeah. That's why we use machines, Jason, so you don't have to use your.
Oh, yeah, one of the auto pens. Okay, because no one would know how to return a message to me.
Yeah. No, me and you both. I don't think my handwriting has changed since like the 4th grade.
I
So.
think it's gotten worse, is what I think.
Yeah, the handwritten note thing has been pretty cool. We're seeing a lot of success with that. And then LinkedIn is a big one. I know you're big on LinkedIn, so being able to automate those. And then obviously, you know this, and I think by the time this gets released, hopefully this will be in the market, but an advisor stream integration, which is
Yep.
a quick plug to Kevin Mulhern and Broadridge, and Advisor Stream, I think, is the highest converting compliant email marketing platform that we've seen. So we're excited.
Advisors I know would say, "Oh, it hasn't gotten me anything." I'm like, "What have you done with those leads?" Nothing. Okay, guess what happens when you do something with those leads?
Yeah.
It's wildfire. It's incredible.
Yeah. And it's cool. So on their platform, for the folks listening that don't know, you can automate really high converting paid content from top publishers, essentially with no firewall, no paywall at all, excuse me. The prospects and the clients love it. They're getting articles about tariffs over here in the US, Jason, obviously for you guys too, and whatever else is current events. But the beauty of it, to your point, Jason, is if I send that to a client or a prospect and they forward that to you, for example, I get a new lead in my system that says, all right, Jason's email is that lead. And kind of through the partnership with Advisor Stream and Wealthfeed, we're able to take that single email address and turn that into an entire prospect profile. So with my email, sam@wealthfeed.com, we're able to pull in all that data, right? So the job history, all that stuff. So it makes it paints a fuller picture and allows them to convert, like you mentioned.
It makes perfect sense. You're identifying, they're helping with the drip marketing. Well, some of it can be drip marketing, all the marketing follow-up pieces that just basically gives you the thing to stay in front of them in a impactful and meaningful way. So it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And the way that they're going about it too, Jason, last thing on the advisor stream thing is that what we've done at Chicago Partners, what we've seen is we would initially hook it up directly to our Outlook, but as a prospecting game, it's a numbers game, right?
Oh yeah.
Reach out to a couple hundred to get those folks that are opening and engaging. So what was happening is our domain kept getting harmed because we would send these emails and people are just spam. So what Advisor Stream does, which is great, is they create subdomains. So for you and your broker dealers, Jason, as the ex-advisor to the company before they exited, your domain is completely untouched. But if you send me a prospect an email and I respond to that, it goes auto-forwarded directly to your email, and then boom, you kick off conversation. So from a compliance standpoint, it's the best platform out there. And we try to tell a lot of our advisors not to hook directly up to their Outlook just because there's a bigger risk at play there. And plugging into a great platform like AdvisorStream takes that risk off the table.
Excellent. So this is what you're doing currently. I'm curious, where else are you looking for potential data to enrich these sources? Because the world is your oyster on this one. As long as there's more data out there that's as a relevance, any kind of signal that you can find is going to further enrich the platform.
Yeah, for sure. So I think one thing that we've done at the platform in the recent days, which is exciting, is we pivoted from only being money in motion to also having all professional data as well. So we're able to take essentially all LinkedIn data, let's say every doctor in Chicago, for example, and enrich that through our net worth algorithm, which has a couple of really key data sets that gets us extremely high fidelity into the investable assets of these prospects, along with income and other attributes. So now advisors on our platform, they can say, hey, new movers who went to Gonzaga that just moved to Chicago, or on the flip side, they can just say doctors in between the age of 45 and 55 that live in Chicago. So we now have that money in motion, but we also have on the flip side is just professionals, and being able to tie that liquid net worth to that, we've seen be really powerful for some of our advisors. There's that from an event standpoint. There's a couple other ones. It's hard because a lot of the data, the hardest part about our job, Jason, is
Cleaning data.
cleaning data.
Yeah,
Our
man.
people don't understand, like, you have to do identity resolution 30 times before you say, all right, this is like the real Mike Johnson in Naples, Florida sort of deal.
Yeah.
So our thing is we want accurate data. And then once we feel good about the accuracy, we'll try to increase our volumes and through different avenues. But to your point, we're always looking, and advisors are giving us feedback left and right, which has been helpful.
I hear you. So it is, yeah, data quality, quite a refrain on this podcast. Okay, so before we wrap up, there's three questions I ask everybody on a positive note. The first question for you is, if you had one wish for something to change in your company or the industry as a whole, what would it be?
One wish I could change in my company, and I think everyone knows this in my company, is I wish we were in person, which we started again in kind of 2021-ish
Yep.
and added some key members about a year and a half ago. And we knew everyone that was involved, and everyone is just so good at their job, just the best, front end engineer, the best data engineer, the best CTO, best product guy. And everyone has their own lives going on in Arizona or Utah or Ohio, Portland. I wish we do offsites, but there's nothing more important, in my opinion, than just getting a team together in a room and hammering on an issue. I'm very grateful for the team that we have and everything we've been able to do. It would have just a little tiny bit better if we were in person, but kind of nature of the beast now.
I'm sure that raises some eyebrows among some of your staff.
Oh, I know it's hard. You got kids in high school or poor young kids. No one's gonna pick up and move cross country deals, but we make it work, which is good. A lot of Slack happy hour sort of deal.
Second question for you is, what's been the biggest challenging in the company to where it is today?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's getting in front of financial advisors for us. I personally love working with financial advisors. I love hopping on calls with either sales calls or calls with our current users. And it's funny when we book a demo on our platform, Jason, about 50% of the time they convert to a user, which is pretty solid. So for us out the gate, it was just getting in front of advisors. And if we got in front of them, we were able to get them on the platform and try to help them to see success. And then it snowballed into where we're at today, which we're in a great spot, but we have a ways to go, obviously. I'd say getting going was getting in front of advisors. And as you look at the Kitsas map and you understand why it's so hard to get mind share from some of these folks.
A data platform for targeting advisors.
Shameless plug to Julian and RA Growth Catalyst.
Yeah.
It's a great platform for that.
Anyway, yes, 50% conversion. A lot of people in this industry would just use some very colorful language to tell you to stop complaining. Very colorful language, I'll tell you that much. All right. So last question I have for you is, what excites you the most about what it is you're working on and gets you out of bed to fight the good fight every morning?
The mindset has shifted in our industry where people now put a value on their practices more than I think people did 10 years ago, where people said, hey, this is a lifestyle practice. I'm going to run this into the ground, see what happens. And now people are really saying, hey, there's some value to this. And the biggest driver of that value is the organic growth rate. So what we're seeing is a lot of advisors come through the door saying, hey, I need to grow my book of business. I manage 50 million right now. Maybe I'm valued at 1.5 million to 2 million enterprise value. If I can bump up my numbers, I know that increases. So I think it's just the right place and right time to be helping advisors with organic growth. But I think there's bigger powers that are pushing that organic growth push. And I really think it's the enterprise value of these folks, books of businesses.
Yeah. If anyone needs more proof of that, take a look at the three largest RIA investments in the last year or two. And all of them, without shouting out names, are three very well-known big names who brought in at free cash flow multiples in the 20s.
Crazy.
Numbers that make absolutely no sense from an investment standpoint unless you believe that numbers going to get a lot bigger. And the one thing that they all had in common, proven histories of organic growth.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Everyone can ride market returns. As we know, they're not always there for us on the growth
Nope.
side. So you need
Nope.
that other side of the coin.
That's it. Sam, thanks for taking the time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
So that was today's episode. If you are an advisor in the US and you're not checking out Wealthfeed, I don't know what to tell you. You really should. As always, if you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, or wherever you your podcast. Until next time, take care.
This podcast was brought to you by Woodgate Financial, an award-winning financial planning firm catering to high net worth individuals and their families. To learn more, go to woodgate.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play, or find more episodes at jasonpereira.ca.